Have you ever played a game against a player who seemed to not like their own deck? Like their interests and the interests of their game plan didn't seem to align. And even if they won, that player didn't seem particularly thrilled. Many times when I hear that a player took apart a deck, they tell me that they played it a few times and it just wasn't fun for some reason, so they're trying something else. Whenever I rank a commander for my YouTube Shorts series, if the commander tutors for something, many players will comment about how they find that commander boring because it's just going to tutor the same thing every time. Sometimes in games, I'll have a player say something along the lines of, I could win here, but instead I'm going to do this fun play. All of these are symptoms of the same underlying problem. Those players are not optimizing for fun. This might sound contradictory. How can you use a qualitative word to analyze a subjective thing like fun? Well, that's kind of this whole video. I feel like a lot of people think fun in EDH is this sort of completely nebulous, unquantifiable thing. But it's not. At the end of a game, you can deterministically know, did you have fun, yay or nay? And a lot of the things that contribute towards a yay vote at the end of the game are actually things very much within your control, and you can deck build to push yourself in that direction more often than not. But first, I want to thank today's sponsor, Void Monster. It's an apparel site started by MTG artist Forrest Imel. Forrest made iconic cards like Alpine Dog, Bolt Hound, and Goat Token with Boot. Also Dockside if you've seen that one around. Every month, there is a new release of exclusive TCG-inspired accessories and apparel, like t-shirts, playmats, and more. Each drop has a week-long pre-order. This sweet Lightning Bolt t-shirt is the latest drop, and pre-orders end May 31st at 12 p.m. PST, so there's only a limited time to pick one up. If you want any of these cool items, click the link in the description below or this card right here. Thanks to Void Monster for sponsoring the video. When designing commander decks, I think a lot of players put together a game plan and just hope for the best. And having a coherent game plan is great. I am all for thinking about your deck and optimizing the game plan itself. But I feel like that strategy is often picked because you enjoy the theme, which is important, but you also need to enjoy the gameplay. I'll start with one of the most common examples of what I'm talking about. Many players might not want to win with an infinite combo, so they don't add them to their decks. And this is a good start, but I feel this is where most people end optimizing for fun. Let's talk tutors. There is a common belief that if you play a tutor, you will always grab the same card, make a power play, and win, whether it's a high value piece or a combo. So players then decide to cut the tutor, which is silly. If playing Smothering Tithe on turn 4 would create a bad play experience, then removing one tutor does make that outcome less likely, but it doesn't eliminate the outcome. I mean, would you also cut cantrips or card draw that help you dig for your powerful plays? Would you cut ramp that lets you play the Tithe earlier? Would you remove lands because they help you cast the spell? If playing a Tithe early and running away with the game is not something you personally enjoy, the only way to stop that is cutting the Tithe, finding the play patterns you dislike and removing it, not the support cards around it. And then instead, you can play all the card draw and tutors you want and just get a card that you enjoy playing. I mean, why not use tutors and card draw to find fun effects and play them more often? A wise elk once said, tutors are only boring if you are. I've also seen a massive amount of players play decks that go wide and create a big board, or decks that play big creatures and ramp into these massive threats. And then they just pass the turn. I'll sometimes even offer to take the damage. Do you want to hit me with your flyer?
No.
Are you sure? I cannot block it. I cannot stop the damage.
I don't want to make enemies.
I won't be mad, I promise.
Nah, I don't want to be mean.
And it's not that they're playing a combo deck and they don't need to lower my life total. This is also very silly. I mean, why play a creature-focused deck and not attack with the creatures? What is even the point? If you don't find attacking with creatures fun, why did you make a go-wide creature attacking deck? We can push this to its extreme with a Voltron deck. Have you ever seen a Voltron deck spread out its damage? If you have, I will assume that Voltron deck did not win the game. Because of course it didn't. Voltron decks play kind of like Infect or other aggro styles, where you need to focus down the player who has the most removal for your stuff, the player who can't defend themselves as well, and once you get some damage on them with your commander, it's kind of optimal to continue to damage them and take one player out, then the next, then the next. If you wanted to spread out damage and take each player out all at once, why are you playing a Voltron deck? Casual EDH players often lament rituals and fast mana because it leads to fast starts, crazy explosive plays, and running away with the game. And this is true, but isn't it a bit silly and wacky to then also play Sol Ring in your deck? I mean, I know it's cheap, but it does lead to similar situations to a Grim Monolith or a Dark Ritual. Things that can ramp you into something powerful very quickly. And arguably, Sol Ring is more powerful than those cards I mentioned as you continue to get the mana. I feel Sol Ring is more comparable to something like Gaia's Cradle or Mana Crypt, which are both considered high salt cards according to EDH Rec. But ultimately, they have a similar role to Sol Ring. They accelerate you really far into the game. The only difference is Sol Ring's $1. I find it odd when players want the game to end in a big, explosive play that takes everyone out at once, and then plays random mid-rangey big creatures which are designed to chip in for damage over time. Instead, you should be playing many small creatures and protection spells so you can save up your creatures, dodge board wipes, and bank up for that big overrun effect. Or just play a combo, really. And then the opposite is also true. If you want a back and forth game where players are slowly whittled down, playing cards that lead to this game is what you should do. If you don't want to tutor for the same lame card and play a combo, don't play the lame card. Fill your deck with fun cards and then tutor for those. This might sound obvious, but I see this all the time, where players don't attack with creatures, where players sit around and wait for a big finisher that never comes. And it's because people are not optimizing for fun. They're not focusing on how they want the game to end up, and they just get lost in the sauce of their theme. I mean, why play your deck suboptimally instead of just building a deck that plays the way you want it to? This portion of the video is pretty simple, right? I bet you've already made some adjustments to your deck similar to this. Maybe you played it a few times, you realized you didn't like the Crater Hoof, so you cut the Crater Hoof. Easy peasy. But luckily, there's more to this video. But first, I want to remind you to subscribe and check out the Patreon if you want to support me directly. The next part of this video is about how you can't assume other people will cater to your fun. Many times when I sit down at a pod and a player is taking out their fun deck, the way they describe it is about how it's inoffensive, how there's minimal interaction, how it doesn't require me to react in any way, how it just does its own thing. I think this is very silly. The idea that a fun deck is one which provides no challenges or oppositions is fundamentally wrong in a 4-player free-for-all. If I wanted a game where my opponents posed no threat, I would just goldfish my deck instead. Why even show up to the pod? I want games where one player's deck is faster than mine, and I might have to respond in some way. I want some games to be close because I got hit with removal at the right time. Of course, within reason, you still need to match power levels somewhat. A deck with a turn 3 win or mass mana denial can only be beaten by a deck that has taken those into account when deck building. So please stay generally within power levels here, but assume your opponents will do something, at the very least if their deck is as strong as yours. But if we can agree that you should expect your opponents to pose a fair challenge to your deck, then you're going to need to adjust your list to make sure the games end up where you want. If the first section is about playing cards in your deck that leads to fun games, this is about playing cards in your deck that prevent unfun games. Let's say you really don't like Craterhoof Behemoth or Overrun effects. You just hate them in particular. You find that these lead to unsatisfying games. To avoid that, you can increase the amount of board wipes in particular. It's hard to build up a board and play Triumph of the Hordes without a board. A deck with a lot of board wipes is likely not to lose to decks that need to go wide to win. Instead, your deck would be more weak to mid-rangey, slower decks that are looking to chip in for damage over time. But if you are more okay with that ending rather than the overrun effect, by overloading on board wipes, you have now adjusted your deck so that the games end in a way you find more fun. Same can be said about many other endings to games. You don't like combos? then play more interaction and instant speed ways to develop your board, so you don't need to tap out as much on your turn. If you don't want to lose to graveyard decks, you play Graveyard Hate. Again, it sounds simple, but people do not do this. Most players will not have ways to exile graveyards. Most players are not considering that they don't want to lose to a specific type of thing and then fold to that. I've had a ton of games where I won by playing an ensnaring bridge because players could not get past it. I am optimizing for fun by playing bridge, since I don't want to lose to aggro decks. But as an aggro deck, if you don't want to lose to bridge, you gotta play ways to beat it. It also doesn't need to be something as explicit as a bridge or torpor orb or whatever other third stacks the effect I put on screen. Those are just obvious examples of things you might want to remove. The obstacles stopping you from doing your thing can be as simple as a good blocker that you can't really get around. Now, some people in the comments might be trying to type, but Trinket, what if I don't have the removal? Same thing as, what if I don't have the bridge? Then you attack me and I lose. Sometimes you get unlucky. It's a card game, that's normal. Of course, all this removal talk also works for protection spells. Defensive counter spells or things that protect your board fulfill the same role for fun. If your commander getting nuked 3 times ruins your day, then playing ways to protect it will fix that. You can't expect other players to just ignore your game-winning card forever. But I've talked interaction to death on this channel, so let's talk more about what your opponents might do rather than specific things they play. Another common situation is the small bean player. The woe is me, I'm being targeted, I haven't done my thing, I haven't been able to play yet, blah blah blah. I'm sure you've heard it a dozen times. This is a symptom of not focusing on fun in your deck. If you don't want to be attacked or focused down early game, then why are you playing a greedy ramp deck with a massive game-winning threat in the command zone? When deciding on what to build, consider your opponent's reaction and their options. If your deck has an obvious I win the game unless you interact type card, then your opponents have to interact or lose. If your deck is unbeatable in the late game, then I have to attack you early game or else I lose. That's it. I have no other option. The way you've constructed your deck has created a situation such that your opponents are going to make choices which lead to unfun games for you. This last section is about literally optimizing your deck, like actually improving it in the traditional sense. Lots of times when I talk about improving your deck, people assume that I'm strictly talking about increasing your win rate. But that's not the only goal. Yes, winning more games may improve fun, especially if your deck was losing a lot, but if I only cared about telling you how to improve your win rate, I would just point you in the direction of Blue Farm and tell you to learn that deck and play it at CDH pods all day. Upgrading your mana base, card draw, and removal isn't just about making your deck stronger. In fact, if your theme is very jank, even with upgraded card draw, it still might not feel very powerful. All of these factors add up to creating a more fun deck. I'm of the opinion everyone should have a perfect mana base. I do not care if you proxy it, because I want you to play your deck. I don't want games where your ultra budget 5-color mana base didn't function and you didn't get to play the game. Improving the power of your deck's core functions like ramp, draw, and removal will help you more consistently play the fun parts of your deck. Okay, putting it all together, I want you to optimize your list for fun. Think about how you want the game to be. What would you like to happen at the beginning, middle, and end of an ideal game? And that answer can't be you get to do things for free with no interaction, because people will be doing their game plan as well and want to stop you from doing yours. Use this information to adjust how your deck is built. Do you want the early game to be ramping into big threats? Do you want it to be setting up for a big storm turn? Or do you want to be attacking quickly and aggressively? Should the mid game be protecting against attackers or attacking other players? Do you want the game to end with a big over-the-top finisher or for players to slowly drop off via chip damage? Evaluate what makes a game feel unsatisfying to you. And if that's you getting knocked out early, perhaps tone down how powerful your deck's late game is so you don't get focused as much. If combos are unsatisfying to you, there are interactive pieces that shut down combos hard. And don't stop at your game plan. Think about what your opponents can and will do when they see your deck in action. Once you've decided all of those things, you can now adjust your deck accordingly to focus the game such that that outcome happens more often than not. I'll use my Sig deck as an example. In the early game, I play Sig and something that lets me draw cards with Sig. In the mid game, I want to make political deals and cause my opponents to make decisions. And I want the game to end via combat damage by chipping away at my opponents. So I have cheap interaction that is defensive to stop other combos, and I have finishers that are not big over the top finishers. They all chip in for damage slowly. In my Sig list and many other casual decks I play, I don't play cards that give large amounts of mana quickly, because I personally don't want to be the arch enemy player early in the game. I don't want to get focused down because I want the game to be slow and interactive, which is why I don't play Soul Ring or Rituals. I don't want to come out the gate swinging. It's just not that type of deck. This is a deck where the goal is to have players make political deals with me. If I'm archenemy from turn 1, that's not going to work out. Every game with this list has been really fun because it's full of fun cards that I like that work together as a coherent strategy. My tutors don't find me one overpowered combo piece that completely trivializes the rest of my deck, because there isn't something like that in my list. I need something that will either do something fun or I need something for a specific situation. I'm tutoring for something different every time. I'm drawing towards something different every time. And this is just one example from one deck. My other decks with other goals work differently. If you like being the big bad that everyone needs to focus down, lean into that. Play more fast mana and tutor for your power plays. Why not? If you're going to play a deck that sometimes pops off and has this crazy turn, then people are going to remember that and focus down your list and throw extra removal at you, attack you more often. So you might as well just do that more, if that's what you enjoy. Build your deck to do the fun thing all the time. Ultimately, fun in EDH is at least partially your responsibility. If your deck is unfun to play, or the games you play with it lead to unfun situations, that is partially your fault. Of course, there are things outside the game which can lead to a negative play experience. There's nothing I can say or do about rude players or something like that. That's just bad luck. But if a game or deck is unfun, there is oftentimes something you as an individual could do about it. I feel like people many times attribute bad games to things your opponents did or bad luck. Oh, I didn't draw enough lands. Oh, my opponent was playing a CEDH deck and they pub stomped me, etc., etc. But a lot of times these feel, at least to me, somewhat like excuses. If your deck is not drawing enough lands, the problem isn't just bad luck, it might be not running enough lands. If your opponents are beating you in some capacity, yeah, they could be playing a stronger deck than you, but maybe your deck just needs a little extra sauce. There are things you can do within your own control to have more fun games, and I encourage you to be more proactive when thinking about fun in EDH. I hope you found this video thought-provoking. Ideally, after watching this, you're going to take a look at some of your lists, which you have found unfun, and maybe make some changes. Thank you very much for watching. Special thanks to my patrons for supporting the channel. If you want to be in the credits like they are, check out the link below.